Back in the magical world of Photoshop, and the first thing you need to do is to download this photo if you want to follow along using this photo. You can use your own photo if you wish. Now, the second thing you need to do is to create a pattern or download a pattern of your choice. So here I have a pattern that I downloaded from Envato Elements. If you guys are interested, check the links in the description, but you really don't have to do that. You can use any pattern of your wish, create your own pattern. This is just a simple tile if you have a look at it, and you'll be able to download a sample photo of this in the description. Now, all you got to do is to open that separately in Photoshop as a new document. Don't drag it and drop it over the canvas. So simply drag it and don't drop it over the canvas in the same document. Just drop it right there. This will create a separate document. Why are we doing that? For two reasons. First of all, to create a pattern that's obvious. Secondly, we want a transparent pattern. So to create a transparent background, first of all, we need to make a selection based on colors. So we need to select this color right there. And how do we do that? Very simple. Go to select and then color range. Now it already makes the selection perfect for me because I had already done it. So let me show you how it's done. Let me just change everything. So all you got to do at the top, you will see the select drop down, and from there you got to choose sampled colors. Decrease the fuzziness all the way to the left. 1 or 2 or 0 will do too. Now change the selection preview to none so that you see everything. With the first eyedropper right over there, let's click on the color of your choice. Alright, change the selection preview to grayscale. Now white are the areas which are selected, black are the areas which are not selected. Right now it's so pixely, right? Slowly and gradually increase the fuzziness. It's getting less and less pixely, but we don't have to go so high that other areas begin to get selected as well. So we need to find a place. We need to find a happy place right over there. So I guess for us, it would be about 42-ish or something. Now, once we have this selection, we need to fill it with something. So simply create a solid color adjustment layer by clicking on the adjustment layer icon and then choose solid color. Let's choose white in this case. Now we can change the color to whatever we wish using a clipping mask. All right. So now let's turn off the background. Now we have a transparent. Press Ctrl or Command A to select it all. And then let's go to Edit and then a Define Pattern. Let's name this Tile 1. Alright, now I had already created that pattern, so there might be 3 or 4 instances of the same. Alright, press Ctrl or Command D to deselect that. Now that we have the pattern, let's come back to our image. The next thing here is making a selection of the shirt or the piece of cloth or wherever you want to place the pattern. In this case, to make a selection, you can use whatever method you wish. You can use your favorite method. So you can use the quick selection tool right there to start making a selection. You can use the pen tool for more precision. So I took the liberty of already creating that selection. So let me load that up because this is not a selection class. You already know that. If you don't, there are lots of videos on making selections in our channel. Alright, now once you have made the selection, let's apply some color to it. To add a color, let's click on the adjustment icon and let's choose solid color. Wow, black really looks nice in this guy. Alright, let's choose a dark color. So I'm going to choose something like this. Now I've already decided what color I'm going to choose. So I'm just going to type in the hex code right there, 58150A. I was kind of experimenting and this color stood out while I was practicing before recording this. So this looks nice. Hit OK. Now, have you ever printed or got something printed on a piece of regular white paper? I'm talking about regular print, none of that fancy mug printing stuff. Whenever you insert that white paper inside your printer, whatever the printer does is basically darkens it. The printer never brightens anything. So let's say in your image, you have some bright area and you try to print the whole picture with your printer. So what happens in those bright areas? The printer just doesn't print. So if you try to print an absolutely white image, you already know what happens, right? You insert that paper without doing anything, that paper straight comes out. So what does this tell us? Whatever the printer does is darkening because it cannot brighten the bright even more. It's already white. How brighter can it get? That's the same in this case. He's already wearing a white t-shirt. Now, whatever we do on it, place a pattern or place a design, it's only gonna darken it. Now, what is the blend mode which darkens? Multiply. So simply choose the blend mode, multiply right here. So that's the whole concept behind the story. Now, if you have a look at it, the sunlight is just beaming onto the shirt, but there is still no boost to it. So to apply that boost, let's apply a light shade. To apply a light shade, let's name this dark shade for reference. So click on the adjustment icon and then choose solid color. And for this, you're gonna choose a lighter shade. I already have figured out what I'm gonna choose right here. It's going to be F8C68B. Alright, hit OK. Now in this case, we don't want to use the blend mode multiply because we are not darkening it, we are just boosting something and we only want to apply it in certain parts of the highlights. For that, we can use simply blend if. So double click on the right hand side of the layer. Now what did we say before? We only wanted to apply it in the highlights, okay? In other words, we can also say we wanted to take it away from the dark areas or take it away from the shadows, right? And that's exactly what we're going to do using blend if. We're just going to take it away from the shadows and thus applying it only in the highlights. So once you open up the layer styles dialog box, in the blend if section, take the slider of the underlying layer from left to right. It takes away the dark areas of the underlying layer or the layers which are lying under it from the current layer. Alright, so let's take it a little more. Now as you can see, this is very harsh. So hold the Alt key or the Option key, click on the slider to break it apart and break it apart accordingly. I'm gonna go 118 or 119, that looks nice. Hit OK. Now we only wanted to apply it on the shirt, not anywhere else. Now there are two things we can do. We can definitely copy the mask right there, or the better solution here is put both inside a group and have one mask for the group. Why do I suggest this? Well, we're gonna add a lot of adjustments for the patterns, for maybe a little bit of curves, maybe a little bit more adjustment. And if we have to copy the mask again and again to different layers, to 7 or 8 layers, it can really get inefficient, right? And there can be glow around the edge and that really doesn't look good. Also, if you have to make changes to the mask, if you make changes to one mask, you have to just kind of repeat it to all of the 6 or 7 or 8 other adjustments. So instead, why not have just one mask for all of the adjustments? Wouldn't that be more efficient, right? So put both of them in a group, select the first one, hold the Ctrl or Command, select the second one, press Ctrl or Command G to create a group out of it, and let's name this Printed T-shirt. Okay, organization is important, my friends. Alright, let's just drag this mask and drop it on the group. And that way we don't have to create a dozen different masks right here. Everything is inside the group. Now I still feel there needs to be a little bit of boost right there. The sunbeam isn't looking very convincing because if you have a look at the hand, there's so much brightness. The same needs to be on the shirt. To do that, create a curves adjustment layer. So click on the adjustment layer icon and then choose curves. Any Piximperfect tutorial is always incomplete without curves. If there is no curves, well, that's not a Piximperfect tutorial. So I'm just kidding. Create a point in the middle and take it up just like this. Now I'm taking it up excessively because there's a reason to it, because we can apply blend if here as well. We don't want it in the dark areas. So double click on the right hand side of the layer again. Let's do the same thing. We only want it in the beams of the sunlight. So let's take it from the left, hold the Alt key or the Option key, click on the slider to break it apart, and just let's take it to about 94, 95-ish. That looks all right. And on the left hand side, let's go with 16. Okay, hit OK. Let's look at the difference. So here was the before. Absolutely plain, not interesting, not realistic. Here is the after. Just look at it. Now it's time, guys. It's time for us to create the pattern. But before we do that, let's group all of these. So select the curves, hold the Shift key, select the bottommost adjustments, that is for coloring the t-shirt. Select all of these three, press Ctrl or Command G. So it's a group inside a group, and let's name this color. This is again for organization. After this, we're going to create a group for the pattern. So for the pattern, let's create a pattern adjustment layer. So click on the adjustment layer icon and then choose pattern. And in here, we're going to choose our tile pattern that we must have added right over there. All right. Now this looks crazy because it's too big. We need to make it a little bit smaller. Now for a moment, you can just turn off this printed t-shirt mask by holding the Shift key and clicking on it. It won't do it because this pattern fill option is open. Hit OK. Hold the Shift key, click on the mask to turn it off. All right. And also turn off the color for the moment. Now open up the properties of the pattern fill by double clicking on the symbol of the adjustment layer. Once you do that, let's decrease the scale because it's too big. Let's make it smaller depending upon how small you want to make it. So I'm going to keep it at about 20. How do you feel about that? You can adjust it to your liking. This is absolutely up to you as to what looks or feels good to you. So for me, I'm just going to go with about 22. Hit OK once you're satisfied with that. And then you can just turn that mask on by holding the shift key and clicking on the mask again. You can also turn on the color. Now if you want to conveniently adjust the pattern in that shirt area, I would recommend rasterizing this. So right click on it and then choose rasterize layer. Now this is rasterized, but we only want that small area. So select the rectangular marquee tool and give it a little bit of space so that we can adjust it, move it, mold it. We have a little bit of freedom with that. So let's select a little bit of that area. You can also select an extra area if you want to, but that's going to be enough for us, I guess. Once you have a selection, well, just press Ctrl or Command J so that that area is on its own layer. Have a look at it. So if I turn off the mask, you'll be able to see that area is on its own layer. Well, now you can just delete it. Now you have a pretty good pattern. Now, of course, we want some color to it. So click on the adjustment layer icon again and then choose solid color. And what did we learn before? We can change the color with flipping mask. So you can choose whatever color you wish. I'm gonna choose a specific color that I like. Okay, hold the Alt key or the Option key and click on the line between these two layers so that you limit it just to the pattern. Now as we adjust the pattern, we don't want to lose the details in the pixels, and also we want the ability to adjust the positions later as well as we warp it. So for that, we need to convert the pattern into a smart object. So right click on it and then choose Convert to Smart Object. Let's name this pattern. Alright, and then you can adjust it accordingly. But before we do that, let's blend in the highlights and the shadows, and the best way to do it is, you already might have guessed it by now, blend if. So double click on the right hand side of the layer. We want to take it away from the dark areas just so that it blends in better. So take the slider of the underlying layer from left to right. Again, this is very harsh. Hold the Alt key or the Option key, click on the slider to break it apart and break it all the way apart and take it to the right. If you take it all the way to the right, it becomes more and more realistic, but then again it gets lighter and lighter. So it's up to you as to how much you want it to be. So I'm gonna keep it at about 132-ish. That looks alright, and it already looks realistic and fantastic, right? But if you look at the pattern, it's also straight, right? It can't be. It has to fold according to the dress and according to how he's standing. For that, we need to make adjustments here, and that is why we converted this into a smart object. So press Ctrl or Command T. Now you can adjust it the way you want it. So right click on it and then choose Distort first of all. That's the first thing I do. And then let's just adjust it according to his dress and accordingly how he's standing. This is cool, but we need to go a little step further, and that is warping it. Right click on it and then choose Warp. Now you can create your own points. So if you go to split, you can just create your own points and create one more. You can create your own lines and splits and then adjust it accordingly. I'm not gonna go that complex for simplicity. I'm just gonna create a 3x3 right there. So if you click on the grid option right there, drop down, just choose 3x3. Now you can go custom. You can click on the drop down and then choose custom. You can have about 10x10, whatever you wish. Hit OK and then just adjust each point according to your desire. You can do all that. You can spend the whole time to do that. But I'm just gonna go 3x3 because you can't really tell what we are doing here. So let's adjust the curve right there as he would be standing. You want to make it even more faster? There's a lot of inbuilt presets to make it even faster. So if you go to the warp options right there, let's choose Arch. See, it's already getting better. The bottom part, we can arrange it. And from there, you can go a 3x3 and then you can adjust the bottom. So I'm just gonna bring it down like this and bring this point up like this. So we have that kind of curve. Now I know what you're thinking. This looks like, well, let's say CRAP. So we need to adjust these handles to make it look a little better. Okay. All right. Now that looks better. Now let's adjust this handle as well. All right. Now you can take it at the top a little bit. See, we are going along the curve of the shirt. Now you can push it a little in so that it just blends in nicely. See that curve we are creating there? Similarly, you can adjust the curve on all of the other areas according to your wish. See how it's curving along the arms? Similarly, let's do it on the other areas as well. Once it is adjusted according to your wish, hit enter or return. Now here's the great part. You can always press Ctrl or Command T again, right click on it and then choose warp again and everything will be intact. That is the advantage, my friend, of smart objects. Now this looks almost done, right? Now some of you also might be wondering that Unmesh, if I zoom in, there are little folds here and there that needs to be adjusted as well. Well, you really cannot tell, but if you want to adjust those little folds here and there, there's a way to do it. First way is displacement map. Now, it's not going to work in this case because there are sunbeams here, right? It's going to bump on those sunbeams. So I really am not in favor of displacement maps. The second way is liquify. It's really going to work here. All you have to do is to apply a liquify filter on this pattern and just adjust it according to these folds. Maybe if you have time at the end, I'm going to show you. But you really don't have to do this because if you zoom out, you really cannot tell. Now the next step is creating texture and details. Now you might ask, what do you mean by that? Well, have a look at some bright areas. There are just no details in there. Partly because we darkened a white t-shirt. There was already no details. So it just looks so bad when we darkened it. And there are details in some dark areas. Have a look. We have details of the fabric. So we need to create those details in this bright area to make it look more realistic and convincing. So let's make a copy of the background layer, press Ctrl or Command J, place it at the very top on top of the printed t-shirt group. Let's collapse this group to make things simple, to just make it appear organized. Now press Ctrl Shift U, Command Shift U to desaturate it, take away all the colors. Let's go to Filter, Other, and then High Pass. 4.5 value seems nice. If you go beyond that, creases of the shirt is also going to show up. We don't want that. 4.5, 4.6 is all right. So let's go for that. Hit OK. Now all we need to do is to change the blend mode from normal to overlay. Now it also enhances the texture and the detail of the areas which already have the details. So we don't really want that. We'll take care of that later. Right now, we just need to create details in these areas. So what do? We select the clone stamp tool, right? And choose sample current layer. We only want to sample from the current layer. Blend mode normal, opacity and flow at 100. Make sure you take a soft round brush and then just take a sample and start painting. So hold the Alt key, the Option key, take a sample from an area which has details and start painting right there. Have a look, you create that detail. Similarly, you can take details from any section you want. So I'm going to take a sample from right there, something from here, and just start painting. You will have more and more details. See all the fabric details that we have added? Here's the before, here's the after. Look at the difference. Now it's not much, I understand. We'll take care of that later. Just make sure every area which needs details are covered. Once that is done, you can hold the Alt key or the Option key and click on the mask button. This creates a negative mask. Then you can take the brush, soft round brush, white as the foreground color, and just paint on the areas which needs details. That way you don't end up enhancing the areas which already has a lot of details. Let's take a look at which areas we have painted. There are some areas that needs a little more painting. Great. We accidentally painted on the beard areas. We don't want it there. This looks alright. Now, to enhance the details even more, just duplicate it. So with the background copy, or let's just name it details, press Ctrl or Command J. Do we have enough details? Not much. Press Ctrl or Command J again. Now we have a ton of details in that area. Now you can group all of those. So select the first one, hold the Shift key, select the last one, press Ctrl or Command G, and let's name this details. In this case also, you could have just one mask for the entire thing. So you can just drag and drop this mask right over there and delete the mask of the rest of the layers. Just makes it a little more convenient if you want to paint details in some other areas. So let's delete it. Let's delete this one as well. All right, here you have it. Now, if you think that is too much, of course, you can decrease the opacity. So for this one, we're going to keep it at about 70%. And there you have your pattern on the shirt. Now, there's still something that needs to be fixed. Can you guess what that is? It relates to ambience. You see, if you have a white shirt or a t-shirt placed right there, the light falls on it, and because it's white, it reflects more light. It lets more light pass through as well, through a cloth. So if you look here, the light coming through right there is very, very high. So if you look at the original photo, I'm going to show this to you. Because it was white, there was some light coming through in the shadow. Once we darkened it, this area just doesn't look right. So we need to add some additional shadows right over there. We need to correct the ambience here. Okay. To do that, first of all, let's make a selection, just bring on a selection of the shirt. We already have it right there. Hold the Control or Command and click on the mask of the shirt right there. And press Ctrl Shift I. Okay, now it's on the opposite side. I can take the brush, just start painting with black. Or the other thing you can do here is create a curves adjustment layer. Click on the adjustment layer icon and then choose curves and bring it down. Stop it where at the point where it looks all right. So I'm going to stop right over here. And then for the curves again, I'm going to create one more group. Press Ctrl or Command G so that we have one more mask inside that. And in this group, hold the on key, the option key, and click on the mask button. Now when you paint, it won't get inside the shirt. So with a soft round brush, let's paint with white right here. As simple as that. I'm gonna make the brush a little larger and remove it from the outside areas, of course. So this area is where we didn't need it. Alright, there you have it. Now you can decrease the opacity of that. So let's increase it slowly and gradually to the point where it looks alright. So for me, I'm going to keep it at about 70% as well. Similarly, you can do a shadow in this area too, just to add a little bit oomph to it. Also, there's one more thing you can do. You can just darken the highlight areas. So just above the background layer, we can create one more curves adjustment layer. Just darken it like this. Select the mask, press Ctrl or Command I. And then let's just paint with white in these areas, in the bright areas. See, it begins to look a little more realistic with a lot more details. Be careful. Let's decrease the flow to about 10% so that we don't do too much. And there, my friend, you have some more details back. Now, before we finish, do not forget to name the layers. Organization is very important. So this one was darkening the highlights, and this one was just ambience. Let's name this ambience. We were creating a little bit of shadows. Maybe we'll darken the background a little bit more as well. That's up to you. Once you look at the pattern, first of all, let's group the pattern too. So select the pattern layer, hold the Control or Command, select this color fill layer, press Control or Command G to group it, and let's name this pattern. If you wanted to do liquify, once this layer is selected, go to filter and then liquify. All right. Now inside of liquify, if you want to see the background and just the background, you can choose show backdrop, and you only want to use the background layer. So choose the background layer and you can have it at the back and then adjust it according to the contours. So you can just adjust it. You can also turn the pattern black and then adjust it if white is not very visible, and keep adjusting it. It's all as easy as that. I just adjust this small area. Once you're happy with it, hit OK. And have a look. We just adjusted it according to the folds of the dress. But once you zoom out, you really cannot tell. So that's why I didn't include that step. But now you know how to do that if you want to. And by the way, if you want the pattern to be even more brighter, you can always change the blend mode to a brighter blend mode. What is the blend mode which brightens stuff? Screen. So change the blend mode from normal to screen. It'll be even more brighter. We have to make some adjustments inside of the layer styles to suit it a little well. So let's increase it to about 137. Okay, that's even more brighter if that's your taste. So that is how to apply a pattern to a t-shirt or any kind of cloth in Photoshop. All you have to do is to first of all create a pattern. Just open up a tile or just create your own pattern and then go to edit, define pattern, create a pattern out of it. And then once you have your image open in which you can apply that, first of all, you need to choose whatever color you wish, or if you directly want to apply the pattern, you can do that as well. So in this case, we applied a couple colors. So first of all, we chose a dark shade and we chose the blend mode multiply. You know why? Because anything we are trying to print on a white shirt is actually darkening it. We are not brightening it even more, we are darkening it. So multiply is a blend mode which darkens. So we added a lighter shade after that and also a curves adjustment layer to add that little boost. Once we had that, we added the pattern, we rasterized it, just added it in that particular area of the shirt, and then using warp, we just molded it accordingly. We changed the color of the pattern using a solid color adjustment layer applied with a clipping mask. That way you can change the color to whatever you wish. And then we also later changed the blend mode of the pattern to screen. Also, blend if is required to blend in the highlights and the shadows of the pattern with that of the shirt. Once you do that, after that, we created some highlights and some ambience details and some other finishing touches, and that was pretty much it. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did,